everybody. Welcome to the Bender Bunker, your online resource for B-Bender country guitars since, well, all the way back there in 2017 at this point. That's right, it's been well over 7 years. I like to think we just rolled 7 years on what I call the YouTube odometer. And we've got a lot of mileage on these Bender Bunker tires now. That's obvious. As I hit the record button, I realized I need to start shooting these at a much lower resolution. 4K is not my friend anymore. But regardless, I want to kick off year 8, or as I'm thinking of it as season 8 now. I'm starting to think of this channel in my life as episodic television. So season 8, I thought this would be a good way to start off. And that way, when you think of it that way, maybe we could have a homecoming episode and a Christmas special. We'll see. But as we kick off season 8, I wanted to create something that would reach the largest cross-section of home benders possible. And that's why we've kicked things off with the Dial Up Your Bender with that starter, intermediate, and advanced lick concept, so we can have a little something for everybody to work on right out of the gates with this new year. So let me know in the comment section if you think this might be a good format for us to circle back to throughout the year. I think it might be a better way to go than those quick licks I do or those 30-40 minute monsters I really get into. Just something for everybody, and we'll see how it works on this lesson and we'll take it from there. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, each of these 3 licks has its own chapter heading located at the bottom of your screen. You can take your mouse, click on whichever one you want to start with, skip all this talking, all that good stuff. You're in control with the chapter headings. And at the end of each of the chapter of each lick, I'm going to have pick hand cam waiting for you so you can see exactly what this hand is doing. So when you start on one of these licks, just pay attention what my fret hand's doing, what the bender mechanism's doing, and just know at the end of it, I'm going to show you what my pick hand's doing. Now, a little preview, everything you just saw me play in the intro where I played all 3 licks back to back, that's all done with my thumb and index finger, and that's how I play 95% of all the bender licks here on this channel these days. It's just become my style. But having said that, I will grab a pick during that section of the lesson and we'll try it together. I don't know what it'll sound. Maybe it'll sound better with a pick because I know we have some pick only players and I don't want to leave anybody out, so we'll try it with a pick as well. And again, at the end of each chapter we'll have pick hand cam so you can see exactly what's going on and get as much of the lick as you can. So start with whatever lick calls to you. Don't get discouraged if you maybe start intermediate but the advanced one's you're not there yet. What I recommend is just try whatever lick's ahead of you that's not quite there. Try it very slowly. Just start by maybe getting your hands used to what position they should be in. Let your subconscious and your mind know, oh, that's where the hand's supposed to be, because I'm convinced after 46 plus years of playing, our subconscious is helping us out all the time. It's like, oh, that's what you want? Because there's been so many times where I've struggled with a lick, but I've really just kind of slowly went through it, kind of got into my mind where my finger position should be, what my bender should be doing. And then when I pick up the guitar the next morning, it's just super fluid. And I haven't even played since the day before. So I'm convinced that our subconscious is doing some of the heavy lifting. So don't get discouraged if you start there and you're working your way up the dial. Just start with the next lesson, take it slow, give it a few tries, and see if your subconscious doesn't help you out, because it helps me out all the time. I'm convinced at this point. Sounds a little esoteric, I know, but trust me on this one. Give it a shot. All right, that's all I've got for you. I'm going to stop talking now and let you get going on with the Dial Up Your Bender lesson. If you are excited about this lesson, or you just like all of the content here on the channel in general, help us out with the new year. Let's let that YouTube algorithm know you enjoy hot bender action. You might like to see more. Appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. We've got that subscription button waiting for you in the bottom corner of your screen, so maybe grab that while you're thinking about it so you don't miss anything moving forward. And as we kick off this new year, I am alarmed to say the Bender Bunker beer fridge is running dangerously low. And if you'd like to send over what we've always called a virtual beer donation, amount of your choice, of course, and that's done via the Bender Bunker's PayPal account, the link for which is always in the details section below each video. And a just quick thank you to everybody that's done that recently. Very much appreciated. All right, we're going to end with our motto, it's never too late to go on a bender, and I certainly hope you circle back and go on a few benders with us here at the Bunker during 2025. We're going to try and have as much content as we can during this year, maybe pick up the pace versus last year, we'll see. And it'd be nice to have you on board. All right, go have fun with this lesson. I'll see you again real soon with some more hot bender action, but until then, keep it bent. All right, welcome to Chapter 1, the starter lick. And before we get rolling on this one, if you are indeed a first-year bender player and that's why you were drawn to the starter lick, I would be remiss in not pointing out that we have content on this channel filmed specifically for you. In fact, it's literally called Tips and Tricks for First-Year Benders, and I would urge you to seek it out if you haven't viewed it yet. It's waiting for you on our main YouTube channel page in our Master B-Bender Lesson playlist. There's 2 volumes of it. Again, it's called Tips and Tricks for First-Year Benders. So after you learn this starter lick, head over there, and that's going to walk you through all the fundamental shapes you're going to need to be twanging in a hurry with that new bender during your first year of playing. All right, before you really learn this lick, In fact, all the chapters need to start with this. What chord changes are we playing over? You always need to know that. The backing track is in D with a short stopover at G and A. Sounds like this. That's going to help us make a lot more sense. So this is the lick for the starter lick. This is the first part we're going to learn. Let's knock it out. We're going to start in what we've always called the D bender box position, and we've always called it the bender box, one of the most common twangy shapes you need for bender guitar. Let's put our index finger covering the top 2 strings on the 5th and allow your ring finger to fall naturally on the 3rd string 7th. So your top 3 strings now sound like this. That's what we're going to work out of for the D section right here to get started. We're going to start by picking. Again, don't worry about what this hand's doing yet. At the end of this chapter, we'll have pick hand cam. You'll see it up close. Concentrate on this and what the bender's doing. So I'm going to start on the 3rd string 7th and alternate pick back and forth with the B string 5th for 4 notes. On the 4th note is when I take the bender up and hold it. Sounds like this. All right, 4th note, bender came up, and I'm holding it there. And then I'm going to hit the high E 5th, already covered. Come right back to the B string 7th. Now, this is the only real variance. Your little finger's already ready to go. It's the high E 7th for 1 note with your little finger. Come right back to the 3rd string 7th, high E 5th, and now we're going to let the bender down by hitting that B string 5th, and then finish that up on the 3rd string 7th. So all together, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the bender's unengaged. Now we're going to keep this shape. What I'm going to do is just pick the top 2 strings already covered there on the 5th together. It's going to be twice. I'm going to go up and down on the bender and then back up and hold it. Bender's engaged now. And we're going to do that high E 7th with our little finger for 1 note again. This time we're going back to the B string 5th, high E 5th. Now we're going to go back to the B string 5th and let the bender down and resolve there on the G string 7th. That section. So that whole passage together. And the bender's unengaged. All right, now the backing track, as you saw at the beginning of this chapter, is now going to that G and A section. We're going to take our index finger that's been covering the top 2 on the 5th and let it cover the top 2 on the 3rd. Just slide it down to. And then this time, instead of working the 3rd string 2 up, we're just going to let our middle finger go 1 fret up on the 3rd string 6. What we're really doing here is actually covering the top 3 strings of what would be a G bar chord, right? Because we are in the G section. So I'm sliding down here with my index finger. Middle finger's going there, 3rd string 4th. And I'm silently pre-engaging the bender, right? Because what I'm going to do now is I've got the bender engaged. I've got that G string section covered. I'm going to start with the high E, go to the B string to let the bender down, and then hit that 3rd string 4th fret. And it sounds like this. Start on high E. So you're pre-engaged. All right, now the A section's coming, so we're just going to move down. Index finger's going to the A note, that is the 3rd string 2nd, and I'm going to leave the top 2 strings open. Again, silently pre-engage the bender, do the same thing, starting with the high E string, walk down. When I get to the 2nd string, let the bender down, and then resolve on that A note, 3rd string 2nd fret. So again, G to the A, pre-engage again, A. And then we end the whole thing by going back up to where we started, the D bender box, but just the 3rd and 2nd string of it. So I'm right down here where I finished that A. That allows my ring finger to kind of position itself on the 3rd string, slide back up to where it was at the beginning, 3rd string 7th. That allows the index finger to fall naturally on the B string 5th as we reform the D bender box. And I'm going to start, as I come up here, I'm going to start by hitting that 3rd string 7th, and then hit that B string 5th to take the bender up. So I'll do that coming out of the A section here so you can hear what that really sounds like. So you actually are hearing me slide up to the 3rd string 7th, and then when I get there on the target note of the 7th, I hit it, and I've already got my index finger covering the B string 5th to hit that bender and take it up. All right, the lick all together. G, A, back to D. Now the lick I did in the intro has a slight variation. The next time I do it, the first part's the same, the G part's the same. But instead of doing the open strings and the A, this time I'm going to do the same thing I was doing for G. I'm going to go ahead and cover the top 3 strings of an A bar chord, pre-engage there. So I go pre-engage, A, and then back to the D by just hitting that high E 5th string. And then when I hit that, I'm repositioning back to the D bender box, so it's 7 and 5 on the frets on your 3 and 2 string, picking those together, taking the bender back. So let me show you the 2 variations, G and A back to D, the first way and then the second way. G, A. This time we go G, A. All right. That is the starter lick. Just work it out slowly. It should come pretty easily now that you understand the hand positions. Let's move on to pick hand cam so you can see what this hand's doing. You can put it all together. All right, here we are with pick hand cam for the starter lick of chapter 1. As I mentioned previously in this video, I played the opening section of this with my thumb and index finger, so I will show you what that's about, and then we'll move on to an actual pick as promised earlier. So here we are. You already know the positions. Now it's just about concentrating on this hand. I am alternating between my thumb and index finger. I'm starting with my thumb. Remember, we had those first 4 notes, so it's right, alternating. So here we go. Now, thumb and index finger grabbing the top 2 to blast those double stops. So if you want to mimic exactly how I'm doing it, that's how I did it. Now let's switch over to a pick, shall we? And let's see what it sounds like. All right, pick and cam for chapter 1, the starter lick. All right, welcome to chapter 2, the intermediate lick. I have a suspicion a lot of folks will be starting with this chapter. As such, at the beginning of all these chapters, since a lot of folks may be jumping straight to them, I do need to cover real briefly what the backing tracks we are playing over are doing. What are our key changes? What are the chord changes? You always have to know the chord changes you're playing over, or the leads just don't make sense. So the dominant key is D with a stopover in G and A. That backing track you heard at the intro was more along the lines of this. So D, G, and A, right? So now everything's going to make a little bit more sense. We're going to start off, I'm going to break this lick in half real quick. So the first half will be real twangy double stops into our first just ever so brief bender section. It's just kind of a half step bend right at the end of that with a pre-engage. And then we're going to go. So the first half of this will be. So let's knock that out. Now we are starting with those twangy double stops. They are twangy because of what my right hand's doing. Don't worry about that yet. As I mentioned before, pick hand cams coming at the end of this chapter. We'll cover this in great detail. Let's concentrate on the fretboard and the bender for now. So we're starting with this. Again, think about a D chord, an A-shaped D bar chord, because we are in D right now to kick this thing off. And then we're going to isolate just the third and second string, right? That's how we're getting our double stop there to get going. So the 3 and 2 string, I'm using my ring finger on the 3 and 2 string, 7th fret. The next position will be down 2 on the 5th. Switching fingers in positions ever so slightly. I'm going index on the 2nd string 3rd and middle finger on one above it on the 3rd string 4th. Walk it down. So those are the positions for the double stops. And when you get to that very last one, that's when I'm doing a quick pre-engage with probably a half step bend. Just to give it that little twang. I'm not really trying to do too much with it. So let's work on that. And I'm probably, if I think about what I was doing in that intro, I'm probably using that first double stop. I'm probably sliding into it to make it even twanger. And then right here, when I get to that very last sequence there on the 2 and 3 string, a quick pre-engage. I don't even think I need to go all the way up on the bender, just enough to get that. And then we're right back to unengaged. All right, so that's the double stop section that gets us going. Now we need to jump back up to the D bender box area to get the real bender lick, the first real bender lick of this section. So where we left it here was that quick little half bend. Our index finger's where it needs to be. It's on the B string first. I'm gonna pick it and slide it back up to the D bender box area. So I'm taking it from the 1st fret up to the 5th fret on the B string. I'm picking it, sliding it, and engaging the bender. So by the time I get to the target of the B string 5th fret, I'm already fully engaged on the bender. Sounds like that. Now, index finger wants to cover that high E 5th anyway, right? It's just in the way. So let's let it do it because we need it to do that anyway. So that's fortunate. So now my index finger, bender's engaged, my index finger's covering the top 2 on the 5th fret. Now we're gonna do one quick note here where our little finger kind of already is, high E 8th. Right back to the still engaged B string. High E 5th's already covered by the index. And then let's go back to the B string 5th and let the bender down. And then let that ring finger fall to form the D bender box on the 3rd string 7th. Unengaged. Then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go ahead and pick the B string 5th, take the bender back up, hold it for a second, grab the high E 5th as well for a note, come right back to the B string to let the bender down, and resolve that back where I never moved from the 3rd string 7th with my ring finger. That's the first half of the lick. Let's go ahead and concentrate on working the G, A, and D chord changes with the second half. All right, the second half of the lick is covering the G, A, and then back to the dominant key of D chord changes. We're going to do that the simplest way possible, but I honestly think this is where a bender really comes in handy. It takes a very simple part I'm about to show you and just makes it really twangy and blend together nicely because of the bender action. So we're going to start with G, go to A, and back to D. So we just came out. That's where our hand is. So now we're going to let our index finger drop down 2 to cover the top 2 strings on the 3rd fret, and then I'm going to let my middle finger go down to the 3rd string 4th right above it because I'm making the top 3 strings of a G bar chord. So as I do that, bender's unengaged, I'm sliding down there, I'm pre-engaging, okay? And so that's what I'm doing. I've got that 3-note shape, top 3 strings of G bar chord, and I'm starting on the high E, and I'm just going to walk it down, picking it 1, 2, 3, 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string. When I do pick that 2nd string, though, I am letting the bender down. So remember, we were pre-engaged on the bender. So now we need to cover the A. Here's how we're going to do that. As this is ringing in G, I'm going to lift up my index finger. I'm going to keep my middle finger where it is on the 3rd string 4th. Those are ringing. I'm going to lift my index finger up. I'm going to hit the high E string that's open now. And then I'm going to hit the B string and take the bender. That's your A section. So we're starting with the pre-engage, coming down, unengaging the bender on G. Index finger comes off, top 2 strings are open now, high E open, B string open to take the bender up. Bender's being re-engaged for A, and now we need to get back to D. The way I'm going to do that is just, I'm going to leave the high E open because I'm really only going to pick the 2nd and 3rd strings, so think about just an actual D chord there. So I'm using what? That is 2nd string 3rd, and then your A note there on your 3rd string 2nd. Again, I'm actually making the 3rd and 2nd strings of a D chord, and I'm picking those together to unengage the bender again. So again, we start with it engaged, we unengage in G, then we engage back in A. Hit that high E again. I forgot that. That's important. That's just kind of a timekeeper. And then we make the 3-2 of the D chord. And the bender comes back down unengaged again. So we come up pre-engaged, comes down for G, back up for A, and unengages for D. And when you got the tempo, as you just heard, they all blend nicely together, and that's what I think a bender does really well for you. It takes very simple parts like that, but we're working a 3-chord change in fairly short order, but it's all blending together because of what the bender's doing. All right, all together. All right, give that a shot, and let's move over now to pick hand cam so we can get that twang going. All right, here we are with pick hand cam for chapter 2, the intermediate lick. This is where the chickens take flight here as we chicken pick those double stops. And again, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm using alternating between my thumb and index finger, just these two, the gun position, if you will. And so I am starting with my thumb on the 3rd string and my index finger on the 2nd string, and I'm alternating them. You already know the fret positions up here with your fret hand. We just covered that. And so I've got the ring finger started there in the beginning position for the 3rd string on the 7th. Of course, what's going to be a lot of the percussive nature of this is when I'm lifting my fret hand off ever so slightly, so it's notes and then percussive. Right? You already know that, hopefully. We're going to start with this 5-note sequence. Some of them will be percussive. That's actually 5 things there. So I'm sliding into that first position and doing a triplet, 3 string, 2 string, and then a dead note back on the 3rd string. Triplet. Immediately down to position 2 for 2 notes. That should be 5 events altogether. Now we're switching over to this position. So I'm just sliding into that 3rd string 2nd. Again, that's thumb and index. Then I'm hitting them together. And there's that quick pre-bend together. All right, so that is the double step section. And then we're going with the thumb on the B string to get this next part. And then index. And then the G, A back to D section we learned. Now let's try it with the pick. I have not done this. I will say to mimic the dead and percussive part, I am probably going to be muting with the back of my hand. That's what I'm doing there. I'm muting with the back of my hand, trying to pick towards the back pickup for maximum twang. So same mentality with the fret hand, sliding into it, all that good stuff. So I'll try and do it slowly with the pick now. And then I'm pre-engaging real quick. I'm up upstroking on that. And that's up pick on those two together. All right, there's pick and cam and the end of chapter 2, the intermediate lick. Go enjoy it. All right, welcome to chapter 3, the advanced lick. Good for you for jumping straight here if that's what you've done. I admire your ambition. But if you did jump straight here and not view the other chapters, well, we do need to cover some basic chord changes and keys that we're playing over. Otherwise, these leads just don't make any sense. So real quick, we're in D, and we do a brief stop over at G and A with this kind of vibe. So keep that in your head, and this will all make a lot more sense. Now, we're going to go straight into it here with some pretty hectic note picking and B bending to kick things off. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the advanced lick. We're going to learn this 12-note sequence, and it's only on the top 2 strings. So let's not make it overly complicated. Let's not psych ourselves out. How hard could it be? It's the top 2 strings and 12 notes. Sounds like this. That's what we're doing there. And that's one of the things I love about having a B bender, what you just heard. It enables me, and maybe other players can do it, but for me, the only way I can really get a certain sound on this guitar is with a B bender. And what I mean by that is picking that B string without actually having to percussively pick it again. Use the audio I have and have the bender go up and down to create kind of almost a slide sound. Always enjoyed that about a B bender, and we're using a bit of that right here with this 12-note sequence. Now let's break this 12 notes into the initial 5. Okay, we're in that dominant key of D, so this is the first part is going to be in D, and here's the first 5 notes. Kind of quick picking. Let's not worry about the picking, of course, because we're going to circle back and cover this hand at the end of the chapter with pick hand cam. So the first 5 notes are, and what I'm doing there is, again, just top 2 strings. Is I'm starting kind of around the 5th fret on my B string with my index finger. I'm actually picking it in obvious manner so you can really hear me sliding up to the target of the 8th fret. And as I do that, I'm engaging the bender so the bender's fully engaged by the time I get to the B string 8th. That's what you hear. That's note 1 of 5. And then what we do, you can use your little finger or, ring finger, whatever's comfortable. Bender's engaged, we're keeping it that way. I'm doing high E 10th, right back to the still bent B on the 8th. This time the high E string open, and then I go back to the B string 8th and let the bender down. And that's that 5 note. And when you do it kind of quick, they just blend together nicely, and the bender kind of helps you out. And so as I hit that 5th note, which is returning back to the B string on the 8th, that's when I'm letting the bender down. And that's what you're hearing. So the first note takes it up, and the 5th note lets that B string down on the bender. And now the bender's unengaged, but these are, so I've got that, those 2 strings, top 2 strings ringing together. And we are indeed going to do what I just mentioned previously with their bender. We're going to use that audio of coming down off that B string 8th on the bender while it's still ringing. I'm just going to slide it down, index finger down to the B string 5th, and I'm going to, by the time I get there, same thing I did when I started this. Remember how I slid up to it and had the bender engaged? Well, the bender's unengaged now, but as I slide down from 8 to 5, I'm going to re-engage it by the time I get to 5. So here I am coming down. I'll show you. And I'm re-engaged. And that's that slinky kind of slide sound I like about having a bender. And that's what we're looking for. It's really hard for me to play slow. That's what you're looking for. And now the bender's re-engaged. And by getting the bender re-engaged on the 5th fret, that is note 1 of the next 7. So we're going to keep here's the good news, as we do these 7 notes and we start with that bender, we're not going to mess with the bender again until we get to the end of the 7 notes where we let the bender down. So we start the 7 notes with the bender going up, and we end the 7 notes with the bender coming down. So there we are, that's note 1. I'm going high E 8th with my little finger for a note and alternating back to the B string still bent on the 5th. Then I go high E 7th, back to the B, high E open, and then B string to let it down. So we're just high E open, and that should be 7 notes as we come down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to do that sequence that I just showed you, the 7 notes, twice to open that lick. So as we come down on that 7th note, the last one of the 12, we're doing the exact thing we did to get down there. We're using the audio to slide back up to where we were to start the lick back there on the 8th fret. So it's just a reverse of what we did to get down there. So all together. All right, you're going back up to it. All right, that is the opening 12 note sequence. Let's circle back to cover the G and the A sequence back to the D. All right, the second half of the lick, we've got to cover the G, A backing track and then get back to D. And we're coming out of the 12 note main lick. So let me show you what that sounds like coming out of the 12 notes. So I came off that. All right, those are our last 7 notes of our opening. Bender's unengaged. We're going to do what we've been doing in this opening lick though. We're still going to use the audio of that B string 5th, and we're going to slide up here to do the G lick to work over the G backing. Using the G bender box all the way up here. So there we go, Bender's unengaged, still ringing though, and then we're just going to use that, right? And so I'm taking my index finger there, and I'm sliding up to the 10th fret on the B string, and of course, by the time I get there, I've got the bender engaged again. All right, now also when I get there, I can let my index finger, which is of course what I'm using, cover the top string on the 10th as well, because that's what we need for the G bender box. Now I'm covering top 2. I'm gonna do one quick note on the high E 12th, right back to the B string 10th, still bent, high E 10th, and then hit the B string to let it down. And then we're going to end on that G note, which is your 3rd string 12th. And the bender's unengaged. Now we've got to do our A backing track, and the way I'm going to do that is just kind of pre-engage real quick, and then I'm just going to go. I'm going to take my hand off so the top 2 strings become open, because it's very easy for A to do this. And I like the way it sounds. I've got a real high pitch up here with the 10th and 12th fret. I'm going to take my index finger off, make the top 2 strings open, and then I'm going to pre-engage the bender. I'm going to hit the high E open and then the B string open to let the bender down, and then do an A note down here with my index finger on the 3rd string 2nd. So that's your G. Pre-engage, A. Now we need to get back to the dominant key of D. We're right here in A, bender's unengaged, and here's what I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna jump up to the D bender box, but do so by using your 4 and 2 string. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking my ring finger on the 4th string and picking it and sliding it up to the 4th string 7th. And then that allows my index finger to fall naturally on the B string 5th, 2 below it, and then that way I can pick it, take the bender up and let the 2 ring together, because we're now back in the D bender box and the backing key is in D. And I take the bender back up. So we're coming out of the A. Bender's engaged. Index finger's falling naturally to cover the high E as well on there on the 5th, so I'm going to pick that and then go back to the B string to let it down. And then I'm going to move my ring finger over to the 3rd string 7th for that note to end it. So we go up with the 4 2 strings, high E 5th, B string 5th down, 3rd string 7th. All right, here we go. G, A, D. little bit up to speed. And really, to get this lick the way it should be, it's all about getting comfortable sliding up and down on that B string and using your bender for a lot of your pick attack. That kind of situation. All right, that is the advanced lick. Good luck with that one. Now let's really get into what the pick hand's doing next with pick hand cam. Right, pick hand cam for chapter 3, the advanced lick. As I've been doing in all of these chapters, I do start, as you saw in the intro of this video, by picking with my thumb and index finger back and forth. That's what we'll be doing to show you how I played it in the intro, and then I will use a pick to see what the heck that sounds like. I'm curious myself. All right, those first 5 notes that we've already learned, I will say the B string is always my thumb, the high E is always my index finger. Sounds like this. That's all it is. Now we're going to go down to the 7-note sequence to complete the 12 notes. I will say same mentality. B string is the thumb, high E is the index finger. I did notice on the very last note of the 7th, I do come back over with my index finger on the B string. That's what you saw just there. So all together. Now we go up to the G section. A section. That's easy. And then to get back to and end it on the D section, on that 4 and 2, I'm using my thumb on the 4th string and my index finger on the 2nd string. And then I'm finishing all these final notes with my index finger. Make sure you get those 2 ringing together, your 4 and 2 string. All right, that is everything you need to be dangerous with the pick hand cam for the advanced lick. Let's try it with the pick. I'm curious how it sounds myself. Here we go. Definitely doable, and you can really, one thing I do like about picks is you can really go to the back, get on that A, go all the way back to the bridge and get maximum twang. All right, I'll try and do it real slow with the pick real quick. Pick and cam. You have everything you need to be dangerous now for the advanced lick here in Chapter 3.